The foundation that holds everything. Why faith isn't optional for the life you're building. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred pause where high achieving Black women finally exhale. I'm LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce like sweet softness whispered in French, and today we're diving into a truth that will shake your hustle and heal your soul. I recently had the honor of interviewing Tiwiya Hughes, a woman who is out here changing lives with a courage that stops you in your tracks. Tiwiya is reminding women everywhere that our foundation isn't found in our 5 year plans or our perfectly curated LinkedIn profiles, but in the one who holds the blueprint for our entire existence. She's teaching us that the sacred pause, the holy exhale, the divine recalibration we're all craving doesn't come from another productivity hack or another late night at the office. It comes from surrender, it comes from faith, it comes from God. And what she shared with me has fundamentally shifted how I see success, purpose, and what it really means to build a life that feels as good as it looks. So let's talk about why without God nothing works. Let's start here. You know that feeling when you've checked every box, climbed every ladder, and somehow still feel like you're running on fumes? That's the grind culture lie we've been sold, wrapped up in a bow and delivered with a side of anxiety. We've been taught that if we just work harder, plan smarter, and hustle longer, we'll finally arrive at that magical place called success. We've been conditioned to believe that rest is for the weak, that boundaries are selfish, and that if we're not exhausted by Thursday, we're clearly not doing enough. But here's the kicker, and I need you to really hear this. Without inviting God into the equation, all that effort is like building a mansion on quicksand. It looks impressive from the outside, it photographs well, it might even fool your friends and family for a while. But one storm, one unexpected plot twist, one moment when life doesn't follow your script and the whole thing crumbles, and you're left standing in the rubble, wondering why everything you worked so hard for feels so fragile. God is the foundation, period. No matter how strategic your business plan, how flawless your execution, or how many degrees hang on your wall, if God isn't in it, it's going to fizzle out. And I'm not talking about some religious performance where you pray before meetings and slap a scripture on your vision board to make yourself feel spiritual. I'm talking about a real, raw, messy relationship with the creator who knows you better than you know yourself. The one who sees your comical fails, your midnight tears, and your secret fears, and still whispers, I got you. This is where Talika Worsham's story hits different. Talika is a high achieving Black woman who was doing all the things. She was checking all the boxes, she was climbing the ladder, and she was burning out in the process. She was caught in the grind of Black excellence culture, that unspoken pressure to be twice as good to get half as far. The professional demands were relentless. Sustainable success felt like a myth, like something other people got to experience, but never her. She was running, hustling, grinding, and yet internally she was empty. But then something shifted. Talika embraced what I call courageous listening. She started tuning into God's voice through testimony instead of relying solely on her own strength. She pivoted from self reliance to faith led actions, and the transformation was real. She discovered life changing peace and momentum. She started rising above obstacles with a renewed sense of purpose. Her impact skyrocketed. She began inspiring other Black women entrepreneurs to integrate faith into their journeys, fostering communities that prioritize softness rooted in God over the hustle. That's the power of building on the right foundation. That's what happens when you stop trying to architect your life alone and invite the master builder into the process. Now, let's talk about faith over grind culture, because this is where things get uncomfortable. We've been conditioned to believe that endless striving is noble, that if you're not exhausted, you're not committed, that if you set a boundary, you're letting people down. But here's the truth bomb that nobody wants to say out loud. Endless striving without prayerful surrender is a one-way ticket to burnout. Real breakthroughs don't happen when you're running yourself into the ground. They happen when you pause, surrender, and let God lead. I know this intimately because I've lived it. I was battling what I call the titanium cape of grind culture, where relentless output led to exhaustion without spiritual alignment. The professional wins felt hollow because they weren't rooted in God's foundation. I was achieving, but I wasn't thriving. I was checking boxes, but I wasn't experiencing joy. I was climbing, but I didn't know where I was going or why it mattered. So I made a radical shift. I entered my soft girl era by centering God. I started using bold interviews to highlight testimony and divine strategy over solo striving. The result? A thriving platform that's trading burnout for juicy, faith fueled lives that feel as good as they look. I'm revolutionizing Black women's leadership spaces by proving that faith driven softness scales businesses and souls alike. I'm showing women that you don't have to choose between success and softness. You can have both when God is the anchor. And then there's Lori Harder, a powerhouse who navigated intense pressure from scaling businesses and personal growth. Secular strategies fell short against mounting obstacles. She hit the limits of hustle without divine input. The grind wasn't working anymore. The formulas weren't delivering. The strategies that worked for everyone else left her feeling more lost than ever. But when she leaned into God for guidance on growth and pivoting, everything changed. She achieved sustainable expansion and inner peace. She turned pressure into purposeful millions. Lori masterminded explosive business pivots, crafting empires that blend wealth with worship in vivid, unstoppable style. She's influencing Black professionals and entrepreneurs to anchor success in God, reshaping grind culture across networks and industries. Her story is proof that when you let God architect your next win, the results are beyond what you could have orchestrated on your own. Here's the thing: your story with God is a work in progress. It's an ongoing testimony, and that's beautiful. We live in a culture that celebrates the highlight reel, the polished final product, the before and after transformation. But real life, real faith, it's messy. It's full of plot twists, comical mishaps, and moments where you're looking up at the ceiling like, God, are you sure about this? And the answer is always yes. Celebrating the journey means giving yourself permission to be imperfect. It means laughing at the times you tried to run your empire without God and ended up in a hot mess. It means trusting that even when you can't see the full picture, God is weaving something sacred. Your testimony isn't just about the mountaintop moments, it's about the valleys, the detours, the times you fell flat on your face and God picked you back up with grace and a little holy humor. So, what does this look like practically? How do you shift from grind culture to God centered softness? Let me give you an actionable step that you can implement this week. Pause the grind. I know you got deadlines and deliverables and a to do list longer than your arm, but carve out 10 minutes daily for honest prayer. And I'm not talking about those polite, sanitized prayers where you ask God to bless your day and keep it moving. I'm talking about spilling your comical fails and your deepest fears. Tell God about the project that flopped, the relationship that's draining you, the dream that feels impossible. Be real, be raw, be you, and then watch Him architect your next win. No capes required. This is the heart of the soft girl era. It's about releasing the cape, redefining strength, and embracing softness as a radical act of self love. It's about learning to say no without guilt, setting boundaries without apology, and resting without explanation. It's about healing in real time, protecting peace as a practice, and turning survival into something sacred. When you center God in your soft girl era, everything shifts. You stop performing and start being. You stop striving and start surrendering. You stop building on sand and start building on the rock. And that foundation, it's unshakable. Let's talk about what happens when you try to do life without God. because I think we need to be honest about this. You might achieve some level of success. You might even look like you have it all together. Your Instagram might be flawless. Your resume might be impressive, but internally you're running on empty. You're constantly anxious, always waiting for the other shoe to drop, never fully at peace, because deep down you know that what you've built is fragile. It's dependent on your own strength, your own wisdom, your own hustle. And when you inevitably hit a wall, when life throws you a curveball you didn't see coming, you realize that you can't hold it all together on your own. But when God is the foundation, when faith is the anchor, you have access to a peace that surpasses understanding. You have access to wisdom that's beyond your own. You have access to strength that doesn't run out. You can face the storms, the setbacks, the plot twists, and still stand firm because you're not standing on your own. You're standing on the promises of a God who never fails. This is what Tiwiya Hughes shared in our interview, and it's what I want you to carry with you today. Without God, nothing works, not in the way that truly matters, not in the way that brings lasting peace, joy, and fulfillment. You can hustle your way to a certain level of success, but you can't hustle your way to wholeness. You can grind your way to a bigger bank account, but you can't grind your way to inner peace. Only God can give you that. So here's what I need you to do: take an honest inventory of your life. Where are you trying to build without God? Where are you relying on your own strength instead of surrendering to His? Where are you hustling instead of trusting? And then make the shift. Invite God into every area of your life, your business, your relationships, your health, your dreams. Let Him be the foundation. Let Him be the architect. Let Him lead. And as you do, celebrate the journey, laugh at the mishaps, trust the plot twists. Know that your story with God is still being written. And every chapter, even the messy ones, is part of a beautiful testimony. You are not alone in this. You are part of a community of high achieving Black women who are choosing softness over survival, faith over grind culture, and God over everything. We're learning together, healing together, and rising together. And the best is yet to come. Now, I want to leave you with this. The world will tell you that you need to have it all figured out, that you need to be strong, independent, and self sufficient, that asking for help, leaning on faith, or admitting you can't do it alone is weakness. But I'm here to tell you that the opposite is true. Surrendering to God is the bravest thing you will ever do. Trusting Him with your dreams, your fears, your future is the most courageous act of faith. And building your life on His foundation is the smartest decision you will ever make. So stop trying to do it alone. Stop building on sand. Stop hustling without the Holy Spirit. Invite God into your plans, your process, your purpose. Let Him be the foundation and watch what He builds through you. This is your invitation. This is your moment. This is your soft girl era. A life rooted in faith, softness, and divine purpose. A life where you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. A life where you can rest, trust, and thrive. The question is, will you accept it? Will you lay down the cape? Will you let God be the foundation? Because without Him, nothing works. But with Him, everything is possible. And your story, your testimony, your life is just getting started.